There was a man who was caught in the act of stealing, and he was taken before the king. In that kingdom, stealing was punishable with death, and the man had to be hanged to death. The previous night, before he could be taken to die, he asked for an audience with the king. And he was given that as his last wish. When he met the king, he said to the king that he had a mango seed, which, if when planted into the ground, would bring up mango tree overnight. And on that mango tree, there would be numerous mangoes. And with those seeds, they could do the same, and it could go on and on and on. The king was intrigued and wanted to see that seed, wanted to see whether it was true what this man said or whether he was lying again. And so they went to this man's home, and he removed that seed from a place where he had hid it. And he said to the king, there is only one condition for the mango tree to come up overnight, and it is this, that it must be sown into the ground by someone who has never stolen anything in his whole life. He says, I cannot do that because I have been accused of stealing. So let one of your courtiers or you can do it. So the king turned to his courtiers and looked at each one of them. And as the king looked at them, each one looked down on the ground to indicate, even without speaking, that they could not do that because everyone there had stolen something or other in their lives. The man handed the seed to the king, but the king could not do that also, because when he was a prince, he was also guilty of stealing. The point of the story is not so much whether we should be guilty, whether we should steal, whether we should be anything else, but how this man was so resourceful when it came to his life. The king realized that the man had played a trick on him and forgave the man with the condition that he would never steal again. What is the point which the story is making? The point that the story is making is similar to the point being made in the gospel by Jesus. And the point being made is this. Jesus tells of a man who was the steward of his master. And this steward was caught in the act of being dishonest. And the master said to him that he was to be thrown out because he couldn't be steward any longer. He was to be dismissed. The steward began to reflect on his future and ask himself what he would do. And suddenly a thought struck him. He was already dishonest. So he called his master's debtors one by one and asked them how much they owed the master. And because those who came did not know that he had been dismissed, they thought that the master was being generous when this steward began to cut their bills. Began to say, if you owe 80, I'm going to cut your bill to 60. If you owe 50, I'm going to cut your bill to 40. If you owe 20, I'm going to cut your bill to 10. He kept on cutting the debtors' bills, and two things happened. The first is that those whose bills were reduced had begun to have a good impression about the master. And second, they had a wonderful impression about the steward who had done them the act. And the reason why the steward was dishonest once again is because he wanted to prepare for his future. Since he had done these three favors, they would favor him in return. That is the way of the world. the dishonest way, the way in which we will do anything to save our lives, to prepare for our future. And this temporary future, this passing future, which is over in the blink of an eye, we would be dishonest, we would be resourceful, we would cheat and steal and do everything else. And the Lord asks, what are we doing about that eternal future? What are we doing about that future which is permanent? What are we doing about that future which will never end? We are gathering resources. We are gathering money. We are planning for what we will do tomorrow and the day after. However, we are doing nothing almost about that eternal future. To do something about the eternal future is to begin now by living a righteous life, by living a selfless life, by living a life of love. If we can do that, then we have prepared not only for this immediate temporary future, but we have prepared for the future which is eternal and will never end. How will you begin today preparing for your eternal future?